It's me, Captain. My mommy is the best. Superman will be next. She helps mommy get those smiles back. The giggles back. And the sparkle back. You wait for the show. Watch. Get ready for that super discovery and super squad.
Welcome to another exciting episode of Healing for the Soul podcast. It is your go-to resource for parents and want-to-be parents who strive for success without sacrificing connection and well-being. Each episode delivers actionable strategies and inspiring insights to help you build emotional intelligence and resilience for yourself and for your family. Strengthen relationships with yourself, your partner, and your children. Master parenting as an entrepreneur, even while raising young children. Discover life and parenting hacks that simplify your journey. Explore hypnosis and other healing modalities for a deeper transformation. This podcast isn't just about parenting and a fertility journey. It's about creating harmony, wealth, and alignment in every area of life. Let's get started.
And this is season 6. Today I have my guest, Chaz Wolfe. He is a high-performing serial entrepreneur. Social as well.
I'm
you
social
gotta be
too.
social when you're an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
And he's on a mission to ignite entrepreneurs to create and live the exceptional life. He has built, purchased, and sold multiple 7-figure ventures in franchising, home service, real estate, and consulting. Chaz is a studied and accomplished professional who values discipline and integrity. He is an operations and process maximizer and an award-winning sales and business mind. Chaz is known to push the limits of excellence, mindset, and results. As a dynamic leader, facilitator, and speaker, he's helped both domestic and international organizations achieve massive levels of growth in all areas of life. Chaz is a unique combination of genius, where discernment means galvanizing. This is truly what propels Chaz to gather kings and make the complex simple. Good decision, lead kings to win in all areas. And today we are talking about how to become a millionaire in your 20s, a lesson that I think all of us could learn how to do that. So thank you so much, Chaz, for being here with our audience.
Yeah, thanks, Robin. Thanks for the opportunity to share. And what an introduction. You stuck that one out. Great job.
Well, I appreciate it. I'm like, well, when you're an entrepreneur, you got to be social at the same time. I mean, like, that's part of how
Part
it
of
is.
it. I'm teaching my kids that right now. So
Yeah, it's definitely one of those things that you want to be a people person. You don't want to be one of those that are like, I like people, but
Yeah.
you meet too many in the industry that are like, they want to be they really shouldn't be around people because they don't
Sure.
like them. You have to genuinely like and get along with people. And
Yeah.
so what do you
it's tough to
believe?
serve and help people if you don't like them,
Well, yeah, you can't serve them at all then if you don't like them, not to their fullest capacity to help
Sure.
them.
Yeah.
And that also, I got to thinking, what do you believe is a secret to success in that?
Well, yeah, just on that lane. I mean, the book Think and Grow Rich, which is the oldest kind of book on success, written over 100 years ago by Napoleon Hill, talks about having a pleasing personality. In a lot of Napoleon's work, he goes more into depth than that book does. But, having a pleasing personality is is just that, like being able to engage with other humans and to bring value. And, I almost take it to another level of being magnetic. Like when you step into the room, do people feel you? Does the atmosphere change? And that doesn't always have to be the case necessarily. You don't have to be, there's probably some really big introverts listening right now going like, oh, I don't know if I can do that, Chaz, Robin, you guys are kind of out there. But one, that can be learned, right? So you can take someone who's introverted and make them or help them become more extroverted. I'm a good example of that. I used to score on our, personality assessments, somewhat introverted. But now I score, not really extroverted, but fairly extroverted. And a lot of that's just because I've changed neural pathways in my brain saying, not only is this a good thing, but having a pleasing personality, communicating with other humans, doing deals, is all human interaction. To your point, I think you made a great point there. If you don't like them, well, shoot, this isn't going to work out so good as an entrepreneur,
No, it doesn't. And you also have to have like the best interest in the other person.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah,
And
you don't have to, because there's plenty of opportunities where people manipulate situations, but when you have the
oh
best
yeah.
opportunities, it sticks around, right? Like good things come back around again and again and again. The Bible talks about how you plant good seeds and a good harvest always comes up. And so same thing happened with bad seeds. And so in that scenario, you can still make a lot of money, you can still be successful if you plant bad seeds. It just won't last very long.
Yeah, and that's what I think some people miss. Like I've noticed it out inside like they're like the one hit wonders,
Yeah,
almost
yeah,
kind of like the people that make it so fast and then they lose it so fast. And me,
right.
I'm like, I'm just on the journey of like, okay, I'm like as slow as a turtle. I told my husband, I'm like, I figured out all the wrong ways, all the slowest ways to
Sure.
earn money. Like I've mastered that skill. And I'm
Yes.
like, now the only choice is there has to be a way how to do it
Yeah.
faster now. And
Yeah.
I'm like, where do I know I know it's mentally right now, that belief system. I
Oh
know
yeah.
like that's where it's at
Big
because
part.
you get to a certain point where you can't change anymore outside. And like what you said, like for the
Yeah.
Bible, what you reap, we sow. That is
Oh yeah.
100% true in all the things, the
Oh yeah.
family, the kids.
Oh yeah. Yeah, it's tough
It's,
to you know, reap or to even attract the life that we want if we're not doing the things that require that as like fundamental or foundational pieces first. You have to have the because if you do, to your point, and in that same Bible section there where it talks about the seed that pops up quickly, basically is what you talked about earlier. If you have success quickly, but without the foundational pieces, then guess it just goes away anyway. And nobody really wants that either, because then it would just be like a flash in the
no,
pan, and then it's just like you kind of got the taste of it, but then you're back to the terrible scenario that you were before, probably even worse, many times.
well, yeah, and that's what I've noticed that there's some people that have had that. Like I've noticed in the business world, it's like they get it quick and then they lose it quick and then they do it again and then they lose it again. And it's like,
Right.
okay, you're either hitting your level of belief system or you just don't have a good foundation
Right.
to begin
Yeah.
with. It's one of the two.
Yeah. Yeah. If you genuinely, like, we just go tie this all back to your point there. If you
Yeah.
genuinely see people, the other human that's on the other side of the transaction, and it becomes more than just the transaction, you transcend the transaction actually. Um, then that right there, that skill set, the communication that you're learning, maybe even sales, negotiation, marketing, storytelling, all of that kind of clumped in together as a skill will never steer you wrong. Eventually, even if you lost it, you would eventually get it back, because serving other humans, it will always be in style, will always be in business. There will always be lights on for the person that can serve others. You know what I
Yeah, that is very, very true. So there's hope. There's hope
mean?
for not just for
Yeah, you
me,
just
but
gotta
there's
you
hope
gotta
for
serve them in
all
a
of us.
particular way that brings them value, and you got to be able to charge for it.
Well, yeah, that is true. And know your value. That's the biggest lesson I had recently is always know your worth. And
Oh yeah.
when I learned that lesson, so I'm like, it was a great lesson. I didn't want to learn, but hey, it's one of those things that it's a blessing to have learned it.
Oh
And so
yeah.
I'm just wondering what motivates you.
Yeah. I come from a single mom family, so I didn't have a lot of things, or even opportunity really. Um, I can think of, even as a kid, like I just wanted more. I wanted to win. Whether I was playing basketball or racing my buddies, um, whether I was, working my first, sales job at Foot Locker in the mall, and I just wanted to be number one and beat everybody else. Like there's that drive to just compete, and then given my circumstances, I wanted more. I wanted more out of life. I didn't want that to be the end of the story. And the cool part about being raised by a single mom in my specific situation was just that she never used that as an excuse. The situation that we were in or that we're dealt, it was never the end result. It was always, well, what do we do with it? And she, handled her situation the best that she could. And that's what I learned from being in that scenario, is that you might have been handed a different set of cards than your buddy who was given a brand new car and dad that had, successful business or whatever. But that doesn't necessarily mean that you can't take the cards that you were given and still make something of it. And so I think even from an early age, working, desiring more, of course, a lot of those things early on were material driven, right? Like I
Yeah.
wanted the nice car, I wanted the outward achievement things. But you start getting some of those things, and you realize that it's just another car, it's just another house, it's just another, so it doesn't mean that I don't like those things. It just means that there's way more to life that you eventually realize that once you've had a few of the, tastes, if you will. But the desire doesn't go away. So even though I've maybe achieved some financial success and had some of the maybe finer things of life, and I've kind of like, been washed of those things. Like, like I really don't care what I drive anymore. I really don't care, what it looks or feels like necessarily in some of these circumstances. But that doesn't necessarily mean that I don't want more out of life. I know that my potential is still greater, and so that's what drives me. Is I want to win still. I want to be the best I can be, and the best version that I can be, and that includes, my marriage, and that includes my health, and that includes my kids, and helping them become great humans. And so like the game never ends, right? I get to keep playing.
Yeah, it never ends. I love that though, because it's like I'm thinking that that's the exact same path that I'm on, but it's kind of funny because I'm like, I don't have the millionaires. I'm not the millionaire yet or the six figure yet. However, it's like what you said about the vehicles. It's just another vehicle. I'm like,
It is.
I think that has to be an age thing for me though, because I'm like, I'm 39 and I'm like, I don't care as long as it runs and drives, has four wheels, and it works. That's all
Yeah.
I care about.
Yeah, exactly.
But I am driving a 15 passenger van because I got all
Yeah.
the things. So I
Well,
mean,
when
like,
you're super mom, you got to do what you got to do, So I completely admire you for that. I mean, we've got four, and in our friend group, we're not the largest, but we're on the larger end, And so
yeah,
we have made concessions. Traveling with four kids is a lot, Like there's just things that we do that it just takes more effort. We just last week for Thanksgiving, we were down in Tulsa, Oklahoma. My three of my
yeah.
four competed in a very large at the end of the year special invite only BMX race. And so
Wow.
just driving 4 hours and staying for 3 days and competing at this level, in comparison to the other families that were there, they just brought one kid. And it was just like, we were kind of like, certain things that we had to leave. We've still got a 3-year-old that needs a nap, and like, like getting kids down and like feeding multiple children is it's just so different than when you take, two parents and one kid, and it's just, it's just a different story, right?
It definitely is kind of like I don't get all the eyes that I normally get or the um things that people just some people just don't know how to keep their mouth quiet on certain things. Like when they see a large family like mine,
Oh
they're
yeah.
not the nicest. And so it's like I've noticed if we only have just a couple of them
Yeah.
versus all of them, big difference in how people
Oh
say
yeah.
stuff and do stuff. It's kind
Yeah.
of odd.
Well, they don't,
And
that's their unknown, right? Like 8 kids,
yeah,
4 kids, they think in their brain like, oh my gosh, one, how do you do it? But then they immediately think, you know how this happens, right? Like you must be
yes,
crazy.
I get that
You
all the
must
time.
you must not have realized that you did this. And it's like, no, actually, we find value in doing this. Now we don't want any more than four necessarily, um, but having a big family. I remember several years ago we moved to Miami and we were
Yeah.
there for a year. Coming from the Midwest, like completely different life, right? We get there and we've got 3 kids at the time, and literally, I'm telling you the truth, Robin, that every single woman that interacted with my wife was like, "Where's your nanny? You have 3 kids. Where's your nanny?" My wife was like, "This is like no exaggeration. Every single woman. Where is your nanny? Just because down there it's one or two, and you still have a nanny." And it's just like, wow, different life, And here in the Midwest, we've got 15 acres. The kids play on the farm,
Yeah.
like go out and play in the creek, play with the chickens. Like not the case, in Miami. So just different life.
Wow, that is completely different because I'm like I'm the one that's well, my husband he's watching them so I can take and do this. But I mean like
Yeah,
outside of that, I'm like no, I'm like I would love to have the nanny. I'm like I figured out I'm like I need two nannies and a mate. I need two nannies, two
that's
mates.
right. That's right.
But it's like it's all good. So I'm just wondering, I know that we're getting the parenting aspect of this at the same time. How can like what's the most influential book, not just in business, but you also mentioned like the Napoleon Hill Think and Grow Rich, which
Right.
I know is huge. Have you like weaved that in like with your parenting at the same time?
Oh yeah. Yeah. 100%. And some tactical things I'll give to you there that I do with my
Yeah.
kids. Um, First off, you're building their subconscious, whether you realize it or not. The way that you interact with your kids is most likely in your subconscious, right? Like we just do things. 95% of what we do is all organized by the subconscious. And so, most likely, how you engage with your parenting, which means how you respond, how you lead, how whatever you're doing with your kids, is most likely coming from your subconscious. Well, where did your subconscious get imprinted? Well, most likely from your childhood and the things that you were in your environment and your caregivers. And so, if that was awesome for you, then great. But most likely, it wasn't awesome. And or at least even if it was awesome, there's components that weren't awesome, right? Because
Hmm.
not everybody's perfect. But so you're carrying all that with you is my point. And
Yeah.
whether you realize it or not, you're imprinting your kid's subconscious by the things that you do or don't do, or lack thereof, right? So I'm pretty intentional about the things that I'm like consciously trying to imprint into them, and so some of that has to do with like just using chapter 4 from Think and Grow Rich, which is auto suggestion. So we call it with the kids mirror talk. I teach entrepreneurs how to have a morning visualization and how to be able to connect their subconscious to the things that they're doing. But with a kid, like that, none of that makes sense or matters, right? And so I just need to help them do the thing. Well, what is the thing? The auto suggestion thing that he talks about in chapter 4 of Think and Grow Rich is simply consciously repeating something over and over and over until there's emotion involved. If you can consciously bring emotion to it, fantastic. But as a kid, like, they're just kids. Like, there's not really
Yeah.
a emotion to I want to be a good leader, right? But if I can get them through repetition to say the same thing to themselves in the mirror all day, every day, or not all day, but every day of their life, eventually that soaks down into their subconscious and they believe that I'm a leader in my activities and school, that God loves me and I love Jesus. Like all these things that I'm having them say. I think big and I dream big. Like I'm just giving you some of the phrases that are in
Yeah.
their mirror talk. But this is for years. I mean, I started them when they're 3, when they know how to actually speak. My youngest right now is 3, and so she's going through her evening mirror talk with me, and I say it, she repeats it. I say it, she repeats it. But my 12-year-old has been doing this for 9 years now. And I'm not shocked at all when she's around other adults and they come back to me and they're like, dude, your daughter is like well-spoken leader, like da, 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 da. And I'm like, of course, full of gratitude. Thank you for that. Those are kind words. Appreciate it. But then I'm like not shocked at all because for 9 years I've been imprinting her subconscious on a nightly basis about who she is, who God sees that she is, how she acts, what she believes about herself, all these things. Are just very intentionally being built in her. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I definitely do. I've been doing the same thing to my kids. And
Love
I've
it.
been, yeah. And I'm glad that you had said all that. I didn't think about adding the mirror. I
Oh yeah.
completely forgot about the mirror because I'm like, my daughter, I only have one daughter, 7 boys, one girl.
Wow.
So, so for me, I'm building them up. But my daughter is kind of funny because I always was telling her who she is because I'll ask her who she is and she'll say, a powerful woman of God.
Yeah.
And then I'll ask her, what can you do? And she goes, all things through Christ who gives me strength. And then I'll say, what's your job? And then we're working on that one yet for her, what her job is. But like my
Yeah.
boys, their job is to protect my family and be head of household.
That's cool. That's cool.
Like that's what they know what their job is,
Yeah. I love
and to
that.
take care of their family. So it's like
Yeah.
they know that that's their job. My daughter, I don't have quite one yet for her.
Yeah.
Right now, she's a princess. She's 4. She'll be 5
Yeah.
coming up. So she's just the princess right now.
Oh
But
yeah.
at the same time, it's like in that when you said about like for the mirror work, I'm like, I've done that before. Like I've done it for myself, but I never
Sure.
even thought about doing it with my kids because yeah,
The
that would
kids.
make a difference
Yeah.
because I'm having them repeat, they're able to say it, but it's getting that instilled in them
Yeah.
through the mirror.
Well, it's
There's
the
a
emotional
different,
connection, right? Because at 4
yeah,
or 9 or 15, uh, it's just a thing that they're repeating, which is still better than nothing.
yeah,
But for them to look at themselves in their own eyes and and then that gives you as the parent the ability to say like, stand up straight, chin up, like some of the physical things that build confidence. Put your
Yeah.
hands down, don't fidget with your shirt, don't mess with your hair, like helping them have presence with themselves. And then later when they have to present or pitch something, like
True.
it's just another part of the deal.
No, I like that because yeah, I'm just thinking about for my daughter because when I've been helping her, it was kind of funny because the one time my kids caught that I wasn't doing it for myself.
Uh-huh.
So then the second they caught it, and I was like, oh, I guess if I'm going to tell them, I guess I got to be the one to help them with this.
Oh yeah.
So then I've been doing it a little bit more, and it's different. Like when I've said it to them versus like now I'm saying it to myself in the mirror.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I
It's,
love that you experienced that and are vulnerable enough to share that because, there were times when I used to just train salespeople and I would have them do the same thing. As utilizing their kids as accountability because kids are honest. They're true.
oh, yes, they are. They're
They're,
the best for sales and
oh yeah.
business. Oh my gosh, my 7-year-old, he is amazing at it. He's
Yeah.
got more accountability than my husband does. I'm like, that's why I use him.
First off, share with your kids and your wife too,
Yeah.
your spouse, what your targets are. That way, when you walk in the door, they can ask you about it. One, which is accountability, or support you. If you weren't able to achieve it. And I'll tell you what, when you walk in, there's nothing more powerful than kiddos going, "Daddy, Daddy, did you make your sale?" And you go, "No, but tomorrow I will." Or I did, and they cheer, cheer, cheer. Utilizing the environment is really the principle there. It's not so much trying to make yourself feel bad for not getting it done, but it's utilizing the environment as accountability, which your kids and your wife or your spouse are just incredible tools, if you will, in the environment to be able to hold yourself accountable. And, first off, did you do what you said you were going to do? That in itself, you want to talk about a principle of success. Did you do what you said that you were going to do? I know the title of this is How to Become a Millionaire in Your 20s, but how to become a millionaire at all is, a plethora of success principles, right? It's you gotta have some communication like we've talked about, some mindset like we've talked about. You gotta have an offer. You gotta be able to add value to people and be able to charge appropriately for it. We've kind of talked about several principles here that the listener should
Yes.
probably be paying attention to. You got to have some persistence. You're going to go through some ups and downs. We've talked about that. You've got to be able to use your environment with whatever cards you've been given. If you can't afford a mastermind community where other entrepreneurs can hold you accountable, guess what? You got your own mastermind right in your living room. If you can utilize that family dynamic. But most people don't. They walk in the door. They don't share anything about their work or their business. They keep things separate. It's never integrated. It's all segmented, and then they wonder why they feel alone. The family unit is really important. But then obviously, what we do with Gathering the Kings is help support entrepreneurs with other entrepreneurs. Because we're in this journey together. And so, yeah. Anyway, just using your environment is part of that success formula.
No, and I appreciate it too because you're absolutely right. A lot of people don't think about their environment. It's like somebody had asked me recently about, um, does it really matter who you marry? And I'm like, it absolutely matters who you marry.
Oh yeah.
It matters more than any, I think that matters more than anything else. Like what business you're going to pick, I think that
Oh yeah.
matters more than
Yeah,
anything, like hands
for
down,
sure.
to
I
whether or
agree.
not you're going to be successful.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I
Um,
agree 100%.
that's what I kind of wonder. Like I've told people, I'm like, behind every successful man in business, because men tend to be more successful than women. I think to me, what has always the reason why the man is up there is solely because the woman was the one that kept pushing.
Oh
Most
yeah.
people would call that nagging. I'm like, no, they were pushing them to get there. The
Yeah.
woman pushes. You
Oh
always
yeah.
need somebody to push. Like my husband is the one that pushed me to do what I'm doing. Like some days I'm like, he's like my cliff pusher. I don't want to
Yeah.
do something, but he makes sure that I show up.
Yeah, yeah. Well, Thinking Grow Rich talks about this, from a
Yeah.
feminine, masculine, male, female, the woman behind the successful man perspective, and it's true from two perspectives. One, the physical piece that you're talking about, the support, the like you're there when no one else is to pick me back up or encourage me to take the jump or, whatever that piece of it is, like that physical support of, I got you. We're together, right? And to know that you've got a best friend or a support, someone that can be your ride or die, right? And
Yeah.
he goes into depth on how that relationship is so much more dynamic because of it being male female, husband and wife, as opposed to just two buddies, right? The buddy can do it for you also, but it's just more dynamic with her. And then the second layer to that, which kind of bleeds off of the him her togetherness, is the sexual energy that's behind the male female. And so
Yes.
from the dawn of day, man has
Yeah.
wanted to impress woman. Why? Well, because he wants to have sex with her. Why?
That's the
Because God
simple
put me
short.
in the mode to want to recreate. Right? I want to procreate. I want to have babies. Now I'm not thinking I want to have babies, but that's the desire inside of male and female, right?
Yep, it is.
And so inside of me wanting to like it's cool to have a friend in my wife, but I also want to provide for her. I want to go achieve for her. And really what that looks like is that I want to be intimate with her. I want to have sex with her. I want to have sexual energy, intimacy. But it's not just that. It's not just the act of that. It's the provision, it's the protection, it's all the other things that come along with the masculine. So because I get this piece, this intimacy piece, I'm willing to be the protector and the provider and put my neck on the line and take the risks. And so you want to talk about a push, like sure, the encouragement, the support, the friendship is amazing. But at the end of the day, if the second part isn't there, there is no successful man. I'll tell you that much.
Well, yeah, and that helps out tremendously because I know like there's one more question that I'm just like, I have to ask. How did you go from a single parent household to a multi-millionaire in your early 30s?
Yeah. Well, I mean, a lot of work, obviously. The tactical piece of that is
Yeah.
I started in sales. I learned communication. I learned how to communicate an offer and sell it for another company, right? And I worked so unbelievably hard at that, where most people, quit at stage 3. I didn't quit until stage 15. I just outworked everybody. And inside of a skill that made me money, like not just the average, like, hey, I'm going to go trade hours for dollars. I was trading my skill for dollars. Now, it took a certain amount of hours to do that. I had to make a certain amount of phone calls. But at the end of the day, I was trading my skill set to negotiate, to sell a product for commission, for money, where most people listening right now, probably trying to become a millionaire, are trading time for money. And so you have to, the next layer up is to trade skill for money. So learn a skill, and mine was sales. I have to learn a skill that I can offer to someone at a higher than just, $12 an hour, $22 an hour, $42 an hour. Like it's gotta be it's more risky, right? Because I wasn't paid, a certain dollar per hour. I had to make phone calls on my own accord, right? But I knew with my skill set that if I outworked the situation, I was going to earn more in return. That's kind of stage 1, is that you got to figure out how to take your actions and earn a lot more than you have been. Well, trade your time for a skill, right?
Yeah.
And then rather than trading time for money, trade your skill for money. Stage 2 then is taking that money and figuring out how to buy assets. And so in my early 20s, I'm making money as a sales guy, as a sales leader, making money, saving money, making money, saving money. And I started to buy businesses. So I left my career, bought my first business, used that money to buy my second business, used the money from those two to buy the third business. And 4 years later, I owned 7 businesses, all assets that paid me, right? A few years later, I started, buying real estate. Again, taking money from my earned income, from my active, like I'm working in the business or working as a sales guy, because I still was working as a sales guy for some of those years, and taking that money, active money, and I'm putting it into assets. I started buying homes and apartment complex. I started buying real estate assets. So now I've got 2 classes of assets. I bought businesses and I bought assets. And, obviously pretty quickly there, it doesn't take too many assets to build some equity over some, a few years,
Well,
to where you look
yeah.
down on a piece of paper and you're quote unquote a millionaire. That's the tactical pieces of how to do it. You got to earn more, and you got to start taking that money and putting it into assets. That's really the formula.
Oh, I like that though, because it's like I never thought about like um I guess where I'm at in the stage is I'm still putting that into myself to get more of the
Sure.
skill sets that I
Exactly.
need.
Yep. Yeah.
And
So that's
there's a
stage
lot
one,
of
right?
skill
So
sets.
what you talk about
Yeah.
is you're trying to develop a skill that allows for someone else to pay you more than just quote unquote an hourly rate, right? And so
Well,
that could
yeah.
be, I mean, I just talked to a buddy of mine the other day who has been in ministry for like 13, 14 years. He kind of was good with the camera, not really, but wanted to become better. So he spent some time becoming better with a camera, editing, some software, and he started shooting a couple of events as a videographer, and then he's doing some podcasts, and someone saw him, was like, hey, could you do this? And so he developed a skill with his camera that then he was able to then offer a service as a videographer to folks, where it's still trading his time for money, but it was a higher skill. So someone's willing to pay you, hey, I'll pay you $5,000 to come and do this event, or I'll pay you 10 grand to XYZ to do content for the next 3 months, whatever the scenario is. But more than kind of just a job, because I've developed a different skill. But that's what I mean by
Yeah.
that. For me, it was sales. I learned communication, the sales process, and then I got into an opportunity where someone else gave me a phone, gave me a list, and I could start banging the phone and selling products. And in exchange for that, I was able to make, commission at a higher rate, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, that definitely helps because I think like for me, I think like me personally, I have a lot of different skills. It's just that I don't think a lot of people think about all of those different skills that is required. Like
Sure.
I know the sales, I've had that experience, like MLMs, I've had that experience. So it's like I've got the different skills and like hypnosis and NLP and all the things I'm trained in. And I'm just like, how do I now put all of these skills together? And sales has been the most challenging to learn
Sure.
differently so that you're not doing it like a lot of people do where it comes across like as salesy. I don't like that
Yeah.
term. But I'm
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
so many people look at sales as something bad. And I'm like, it's good. Like the
Yeah.
very first thing in the Bible was sales. Well, farm first and then it was, the sales because you gotta like
Yeah.
sell stuff, but it's like it's all in there.
Yeah, yeah. There's nothing wrong with sales, but to your point, there's a disdain. There's
Yeah.
an ick. And truthfully, we go back to exactly how we started this podcast, Robin. It was serving
Yeah.
people. If you don't like people, how can you serve them? Same thing with sales. Sales is service to me. For
It
me,
is.
I never wanted to be the pushy salesperson, even though at this point I've gained enough skills. I know psychology, I know sales process where I can lead you, I can pre-frame the situation, I can get you to say yes ahead of time, right?
Yeah.
But rather than using tactics like that, why not just be honest and be authentic and help people and let them make their own decision? You can still use some of those tactics to like help them, guide them to a decision that they know that is right for them. But even in that, it's like the only times that I'm like pushy is when someone has told me, this is what I want, this is where I want to go. And then it's only when they're like, yeah, they start double back and going like, well, I don't know. Da, 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 da. It's like, well,
Oh
wait a
yeah.
second. Didn't you tell me this is where you were? This is where you want to go. So why aren't you willing to do this? And so I push on them because that's what they told me that they wanted, and they're backtracking on themselves, not necessarily on my product or my service. And so it's through the lens though of me serving them, helping them. Because if I don't push them, how are they going to get what they want? They're not going to. And
No,
so
they
that's not
won't.
service either. But for those that are listening that kind of get the ick around sales, a super easy way to overcome that is just work harder, right? Make more phone calls, drum up more opportunities, because at the end of the day, you can get better at sales, but it really is a numbers game. And so even if you haven't gotten better in your skills, if you just called more people, you're going to make more sales.
Well, yeah, that's very true. It's like just do the work and it'll get done. So for our listeners, what's the best way for them to get in contact with you?
Yeah, they can come to our website, gatheringthekings.com. That's our mastermind website there. We do some really cool stuff for entrepreneurs and for families. And so if they're an entrepreneur who wants to build the machine, scale profit, work less, win, and their family win at home. That's why they would want to maybe join our mastermind community. Or if they want to take their family on a vacation, that is also a productive event. We do what we call our family mastermind in the summer. It's an entire vacation for the families, entrepreneur families, where we do bring in speakers for the adults, speak around marriage and family and parenting, and we do workshops for the kids around how to start their first business, how to make money as a kid. And then, of course, they get to network with other entrepreneur families throughout the entire vacation. We always go to some beautiful tropical location. So it's a vacation wrapped up in one little bow. So super fun. Gatheringthekings.com. They can find all that information there.
As always, I just want to thank you for your time and energy while listening to today's episode of Healing for the Soul podcast. Be sure to like, share, comment, and subscribe to Healing for the Soul podcast wherever you get your downloads, you're listening to your podcasts, and keep coming back for more episodes. Thank you, everyone, for your time and your energy while listening to today's episode of Healing for the Soul podcast, which also can be found on YouTube.